Let me just adjust this. There we go. All right, we are live today, and we're going to talk about Final Cut Pro update for this year. As you may have seen the last couple of Final Cut Pro radio shows, we've been talking about this all summer, about the FCPX Global Summit coming up. Apple's presenting at the Global Summit. The Apple Silicon Mac's happening. Apple has now said there's going to be an update to Final Cut Pro coming before the end of the year. All these things are happening. John Prosser has said there's going to be a Apple event in November for the Silicon Mac. All these things are converging right around the middle of November so far. Alexis May says, hi guys, how you doing? Ernest White, good morning. So if you've been watching these Final Cut Pro Radio live events I've had all summer, sometime after WWDC or even before, I've been saying the Global Summit, the Creative Summit is going to be virtual this year. And what I'll be interested in is if Apple is going to present at that time, and then they announced that Apple indeed was going to present. So once they announced they were going to present, I said, okay, what are they going to present? Are they going to present the same old 10.4.9 that we've already seen? Or I'll bring that up in a minute, Rob. Rob says, where did Apple say this regarding the FCPX update? They said it at the iPhone 12 event. They said it with the press release for the iPhone 12 event. I got a slideshow coming up. We're going to go over that. Question is, will Final Cut Pro match or surpass Premiere Pro? So all the NLEs have different strengths and weaknesses. So when you're talking about match or surpass, I mean, I use Final Cut Pro 10, so I think it's the better NLE already. But I don't get into those arguments, which one's better. Avid, Premiere, Final Cut Pro, they all have their strengths and they all have their weaknesses. All right, let's go into our slideshow. This is Final Cut Pro Radio Live, as you well know. Final Cut Pro Radio Live, TV Live. So there's a perfect FCPX update storm approaching. Okay? When I say there's a perfect storm approaching, let me give you the reasons for that. Number one is the FCPX Global Summit is already been announced for the middle of November. November the 16th through the 22nd. It's like 6 or 7 days. Final Cut Pro Radio is a media sponsor, as I have been for the last 5 years. So speaking of that, if you're going to go to the FCPX Global Summit this year, it's $199. You get 10% off with discount code FCPRadio10. I don't know if it has to be all caps. That's what they sent me, so just make it all caps, and that way you'll be safe. November 16th through the 22nd. That's the FCPX Global Summit. Right? Right, it is, I'm telling you. Let's pull that up here. Let's just pull that up. So here it is, fcpxcreativesummit.com, and they have the dates announced, 16th through the 22nd, 2020. The 6th edition. I've been to 5 of those 6. I've been to every one that was in Cupertino, plus the one that's going to happen this year. This is number 6, so I've been to 5 of those 6. But let's go to the program here. This is what's interesting, the program. And I called this before it was announced. I said, is Apple going to be presenting? Well, apparently they are. Thursday is Apple Day. Thursday. Stay tuned for more details coming soon. We are going to talk about those details, what I think is going to happen today on this here show, FCPRadio TV Live. Man Cave Productions, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. It is actually, it's afternoon, 12:21 p.m. on the good old East Coast of the USA, outside of Baltimore and Washington, Maryland. Washington, D.C., that's where I live. It's a little overcast today. There's FCPRadio headquarters, the backyard that I have to keep on picking up leaves. I just did the leaves yesterday and they're already back again. Sorry, no problem. Thanks for letting me know. I had my mute button on. So what do you think about us getting a major update this year? Before the end of the year. We already got a pretty good update, 10.4.9 in the end of August. 10.4.9 was a big update. So, but there's too many things that are happening. Okay, so FCPX Creator Summit, November 16th through the 22nd, in association with Apple. So without confirming this from anybody from FMC or anybody from Apple, they schedule this summit around Apple's schedule. They talk to Apple and they say, when should we be doing this? And Apple tells them. That's in association with Apple. Yari says he can't say anything. Well, that's curious. You can't say anything. That means you must possibly know something. Very interesting. Speaking of that, at WWDC, Tim Cook said the first Silicon Mac by the end of this year. Okay? We have a comment. Do FCPX Creative Summit guys share recorded sessions after their time? No. At a later time? No. They do not. You have to pay to be at the summit. This year, it's only $199 because it's virtual, but it's 6 days of training besides the Apple event. These are not published for free after the event. Okay? They do make them available if you want to pay. That's what they did last year at the Creative Summit. So here we go. First Apple Silicon Mac by the end of the year. Now, Tim Cook said Silicon Mac singular. I'm going to presume that's going to be a single Mac Silicon. Mac Mini, a 13-inch, 12-inch MacBook, something along the low end of the spectrum. It's not going to be a Pro machine like my Pro Mac over here, like my Mac Pro. So we have first Silicon Mac by the end of this year. the Final Cut Pro Summit, Global Summit, is towards the end of this year. Okay, so those are two things. Apple Day is Thursday at the summit. That's what I'm really going to be interested in. The presentations of Apple won't have any secrets in it. For this online event, they don't do an NDA, I guess. I don't see how, well, I don't think because this is going to be online, they don't have as much control over it as the ones that are in person, right? When you're in person, there's no recording, there's no cameras out or whatever. This one, they can't control as much. I don't think Apple will announce anything that they don't want the public to know. But I think we will get it first or within a day. They might announce it a day ahead of time. They did that when the 2016 MacBook Pro came out. They said, oh, by the way, that's the new version of Final Cut Pro. And that was the day before the summit. Okay? So, Apple's Final Cut Pro team has debuted new versions of FCPX more times than not at the FCPX Creative Summit. 10.3, 10.4, 10.4.4 were all debuted right at or a day of the Creative Summit. 3 major feature updates were debuted at the Creative Summit. Last year, they did not do that. They broke the mold. This year, I'm expecting them to do that again. Will they show us something new? So the Final Cut Pro team has said they're doing a presentation. Apple Day is Thursday. What are they going to show us? I've been talking about this for 2 months now. What is the Apple team going to show us? Are they going to show us 10.4.9? I mean, no, that doesn't make sense. We're the Final Cut Pro editors. We are their main audience. We're professional editors. We don't want to see 10.4.9. Okay? No, I don't think they're going to show us. I think they're going to show us something new. I say yes. They will show us something new this year. Apple has pre-announced an update to FCPX is coming this year. This was the Apple Newsroom press release. And coming to Final Cut Pro 10 later this year, Dolby Vision. So they've pre-announced, unusual for Apple, they've done it a couple times. They pre-announced a new version of Final Cut Pro was coming at WWDC, and that was 10.4.9, or maybe it wasn't 10.4.9. So they pre-announced the version of Final Cut Pro coming at WWDC. Now they've pre-announced again, coming to Final Cut Pro later this year. Okay? The FCPX Creative Summit is the time that's later this year, in my opinion. This is when they're going to show us update to Final Cut Pro. The feature can't be coming to Final Cut Pro without updating Final Cut Pro. Okay, so this is the time I think they're going to show us. Now, there's some more questions, though. Coming to Final Cut Pro 10 later this year. Will that be Final Cut Pro 10.4.11? They gave us 10.4.10 as a bug fix. So the update, will it be Final Cut Pro 10.4.11, or will it be, more likely, it will be Final Cut Pro 10.5? That's my opinion. I've been waiting for 10.5 for over a year. I thought they might have released it last year, but they didn't. 10.4.11, 10.5. 10.4.11, 10.5. You can take your pick. There is an update coming. Apple has already confirmed that. And we have some other issues also pointing to the same direction. This is why I said it's a perfect storm. John Prosser, to confirm there is a November ARM Mac event. I'm hearing November the 17th. Well, November the 17th is right in the middle of the FCPX Global Summit. Okay? So they certainly can have an Apple event announcing this first Silicon Mac. And that would not interrupt the Global Summit because the Final Cut Pro team then would say, here's the new Apple Silicon Mac, and here's the new version of Final Cut Pro running natively on the Apple Silicon Mac. It will also run on Intel Macs. There's going to be way more Intel Final Cut Pro editors for years to come because the silicon, first off, the first Silicon Mac is likely to be a very low-end one, not a high-end one. It won't be likely the iMac Pro. It certainly won't be the Mac Pro. It probably won't even be the MacBook Pro. It'll be something on the low end. So professionals are still going to be using their Intel Macs. He says you should see this confirmed with an announcement on Tuesday, November the 10th. Well, we've been talking about this on Final Cut Pro Radio TV for 2 months. I've been talking about this specific thing, this event, the culmination of all these things happening around the Creative Summit since August. I've been saying Apple is going to do a presentation. They're going to probably show us a Silicon Mac. I wasn't sure about a new version of Final Cut Pro at that point because they just gave us 10.4.9, which was a fantastic feature update, wasn't it? It was. It was indeed. So I wasn't sure about an update to Final Cut Pro later this year, and then Apple comes out and says, oh, there's going to be an update to Final Cut Pro later this year at the iPhone event, the iPhone 12 event. So now we have confirmation Apple Silicon Mac's happening later this year. Apple is presenting at the FCPX Global Summit. John Prosser says there is a November ARM Mac event, but that's not a surprise. I've been saying that for months. I'm saying they're going to show the Mac, Silicon Mac, right around the Creative Summit. So that's not a surprise to me at all. Apple could have its separate event on the Tuesday. Apple presents at the Creative Summit on Thursday. If Apple presents the Mac, the Silicon Mac on Tuesday, of course, the Final Cut Pro team is going to show us that on Thursday when we go to see them, the people at the Creative Summit. By the way, if you don't go to the Creative Summit, I will be reporting as much as I can about the Creative Summit on Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live, right? Right there, Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live. You can, of course, go to YouTube, Facebook, Periscope. If you subscribe any one of those things, any one of those three, you'll be notified when I go live, and I will be going live the entire week. So I can only say what Future Media and Apple says I can say. I'm not going to say anything outside of those parameters. So John Prosser, who has a hit or miss like anybody else, he gets some things right, some things he doesn't. But this is not a surprise. I've been saying this for months. Since the late summer, I've been saying this is what's going to happen. Right in the middle of the FCPX Global Summit. For those keeping count, if you're keeping count of why I think we're going to possibly see 10.5. Number one, the FCPX Global Summit. Number two, FCPX team presenting at the Global Summit. Number three, Silicon Mac this year. Number four, update to Final Cut Pro 10 this year, according to Apple. Number five, update Apple Silicon Mac event mid-November. Those are 5 things all pointing to within a day or two in the middle of November. Right? These are not coincidences. They're all related. What do you think about that? It's not a surprise. We've been discussing it for months. Ernest White says, do you think Apple will put out an affordable Mac product that will make it possible for Mac Pro 2012 users to part with their old Mac Pros? Affordable? The Mac Pro is not going to be cheap. It's not going to happen. The one I bought was, I think I paid $10,500 for it back in December last year. It's the best Mac I've ever owned. It's for professionals. I can trade out graphics cards, I can trade out CPU, I can trade out memory. It's very simple. It's like the old Mac Pros. I don't think we're going to see a Silicon Mac Pro for 2 years or longer. That'll be the very last thing. And in the meantime, I can keep updating this with PCIe cards. Any new thing, a new Afterburner card, new graphics cards, plop it in, plop it out. No problem. None of my cards in my Mac Pro have a fan. I refuse to put a fan inside this Mac Pro. The graphics card has a giant heatsink. So what do you think? First off, who's going to the FCPX Creative Summit? That's the first thing I want to know. My coffee, of course, my keyboard, Stream Deck, Apollo Twin X. There's a hotline to Apple. I'm not expecting any calls today, but who the heck knows? They could have one. Here's my iPad. I just got this one, the iPad Air. I got it right before they updated. I got it for $100 off. So there's a couple of things. Number one is, like I said, FCPRadio 10. Is that what it is? Let me go back to that. Let me go back to that panel. $10% discount with code FCPRadio10. Final Cut Pro Radio 10. There's no X in there. 10% off. If you're going to it, get 10% off. Now, if you're an alumni, you can get 15% off if you've been to a Future Media Concepts event before. 15%. So use that. I don't think you can use both of them together. If you're educational, you can get 50% off. But you have to prove with an ID. Let me see where that is. So that's here. That's here. Let's go to the rates and registration. Here you go. So here's the rates, $199, 6 days of summits, streaming access to all stuff, Access Keynotes panel, Apple Day, partner sessions, Ask an Expert, raffle prize drawings. Last year, I won a raffle prize. I won some kind of a LUT thing or whatever. So alumni special, educational discount, 50% off. FCPX alumni, you get 15% off. But actually, you only have a couple of the days by register by the 19th. But if you're not an FCPX Summit alumni, then use this code. 10% off discount code FCPRadio10. That'll save you $20 and you can buy me a coffee. That's my drink of choice, as you can see, right? FCPX coffee. Why doesn't Apple make their own coffee? Good question. So the other thing is that I didn't even mention the list of 5 things. Big Sur. Where in the heck is Big Sur? I thought for sure they were going to release Big Sur at the iPhone 12 event. So the iPhone 12 event, I got the iPhone 11. I will be getting the iPhone 12 because it's better low light. It's got a little incremental better telephoto lens optical. It's from 2.5. That's not that big a deal. But it's a little bit better, but a bigger sensor, better low light, and it has the new 10-bit HDR, and it has all these other features. So I will be getting it because I use this camera all the time. Now, I'll be selling my iPhone 11 Pro Max. I'll be selling this. I'm going to probably sell it local unless one of you want it, and then I'll sell it to you. Apple's only offering $500 for a trade-in. That's not enough. I think I paid $1,500 for it, and it's only a year old. And it's still got Apple Care for a year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I got Apple Care for it. So it's covered for one more year. So I might be, I'm going to probably sell it local. But if anybody out there wants it, you can contact me and we'll make arrangements. So we got some comments here. So Rob Fisher says, I plan to go to the FCPX Global Summit. I'm really interested in what the new features in Final Cut Pro 10 will be. Apple always hears so much we are saying and then delivers much more. Yes, they do. Eric Emmerich, I signed up for the event. Looking forward to it. I am as well. They're going to have some social events. When we had the Creative Summit in person, we go to have dinner, we have lunch, we have breakfast, we have coffee in the morning, we have bagels with cream cheese, whatever. So this is going to be a virtual. They're going to have some of those Zoom things, I guess. And they'll have people hanging out together and doing stuff. Didn't sign up yet, thinking to do it. Not sure what the time difference. It makes much sense for me. You listen, Lutz, Man Cave Productions. You can watch the presentations at your leisure. You don't have to watch them live. If you sign up for this event, I believe you can watch them for 90 days after. You can't, there's no downloading of the recordings, but you can watch the sessions the next day. You don't have to watch them live. You don't have to watch them live. But I'll be reporting, like I said, I'll be reporting from the Creative Summit, like I've been doing for the last 4 years. I started broadcasting live from the Summit. Same here, Lutz, but it's the Summit. This is the biggest Final Cut Pro event, annual event in the world. And the reason is it's only Final Cut Pro. It's not NAB. It's not IBC, which has lots of vendors and lots of different things. No Premiere, nothing. Final Cut Pro, Motion, some post-production things it has, some audio stuff it's going to have, but by and large, this is the largest, the best Final Cut Pro event of the year. So it's $200 this year. You don't have to get a hotel. You don't have to book an airplane. You're going to get more days, 6 days of presentations, plus the Apple event. You get to see the Apple event. Will the Summit classes be online after it's over? If you paid, yes, I believe for 90 days, you can watch them. You can watch them the next day. If it's the wrong time and you're part of the neck of the woods, you can watch them the next morning. And there's 2 tracks. There's 2 tracks. You can, let's pull those up. So the program's not filled out yet, so don't worry about that. It'll get filled up with the people that are always there. So Monday, there's 2 tracks, Room A and Room B. Steve Martin, Mark Spencer, typical people. Ian Robinson, Lee Herbert, Nick Haraz, all the people that have been teaching all along for the different years. So if you're at this one and you miss this one, you can come back the next day or the afternoon session and watch any ones you want if you pay the $199. It's very, very reasonable amount of money. Plus, get 10% off. Get 20% off. You can buy me a coffee when you see me next time. Proxies, Ian Anderson, production tips panel. I've been on those panels before. So this is where, and then Thursday, this is the big day. Thursday, what is Apple going to show us? I mean, Apple can have the normal event the Tuesday before this Thursday and do the intro, the Mac, Silicon Mac. They might show a new version of Final Cut Pro at that event, but this will be the event when the Final Cut Pro team is there. This will be the event that'll go into details if they do indeed show it before. This will be the event that will go into details and show us tips and tricks and everything else. But do you think it's going to be 10.4.11? Apple has announced an update to Final Cut Pro. They've already announced it publicly, pre-announced it. Is it going to be 10.4.11? I don't think so. I think it's going to, because we're up to 10.4.10 with the bug fix. I think it's possibility is going to be 10.5. Speaking of 10.5, if you're ever wondering who's on the Final Cut Pro team, right? I mean, who's on the Final Cut Pro beta team? Just look who put out tutorials immediately when Final Cut Pro 10.4.9 was announced. The people that put out tutorials immediately have access to the advanced version of Final Cut Pro. So they're very likely are on the beta team. The same people will probably do it again. They'll have events, they'll have the videos out right away because they already have access to whatever's coming forth. That's just common sense tells you that. That's not a surprise, is it? So will the summit classes be online after it's over? Yes, for people who have paid to be at the FCPX Creative Summit. Yes, they will. So one charming quirk, Apple recently registered several new Big Sur Macs with the EEC. Could be the Apple Silicon Macs, implies more than one model. Well, but you know, Apple's pretty careful with what they say at WWDC and stuff. Tim Cook said, we will have an Apple Silicon Mac singular by the end of the year. He also said, we have Intel Macs in the pipeline that we're really excited about. Macs plural. Macs plural. Don't discount the fact that we have more Intel Macs coming out this year, because we've only seen the one. We saw the iMac come out that was Intel. The iMac Pro could be coming out as Intel. The 16-inch MacBook Pro could have a version that's ready to come out right in time for the Christmas buying season. So don't be surprised if we have one or two more Intel Macs coming out, along with the first low-end Apple Silicon Mac. It won't be a pro-level machine. I mean, not that you can't use it for some stuff. Because when Steve Jobs in 2005 at the WWDC, when he said that we're switching from PowerPC to Intel, that was in June, WWDC 2005, we're switching from PowerPC to Intel. Okay? Apple released 4 PowerPC Macs between June, when the announcement was made, and the end of the year. They released 4 PowerPC Macs. So Apple's only released 1 Intel Mac since the announcement switching to ARM. They certainly could have another one, or even 3 more, or 2 more. They could have a total of 3. So those numbers that you're referring to, registered with the EEC, some of those could be new Intel Macs as well. Now, they could have more than one version of an Apple Silicon, but there's still going to be the lower tier Macs, stuff that benefits from a ARM-based chip, low power, low power consumption, etc. I mean, the most common one would be a Mac Mini. That's already out. Developers have had that since June. So why wouldn't it be a Mac Mini, Silicon Mac Mini? It could be. Or a 12-inch, 13-inch MacBook or MacBook Pro. Would we need to pay an additional $300 for new Final Cut Pro 11, or would Apple be kind enough? What's your take? Apple can charge for a new version of Final Cut Pro at any time. Okay? At any time, they can charge for a new version of Final Cut Pro, especially a major version. If it's Final Cut Pro 11, maybe. Final Cut Pro 10, probably not. But there's no guarantee. They could offer it for a discount for a day or a week. If they do, I don't think they're going to do that at this point. Apple would be smart if they're going to ever charge for Final Cut Pro to put that information out ahead of time. Put it out a couple months ahead of time. Hey, we're going to be charging for the next update to Final Cut Pro. Don't just surprise us at the App Store. That would not be good. It's better to tell us in advance if there's going to be a charge. I don't see it happening this year. I don't see it happening. They'll get plenty of new users, Final Cut Pro. They're probably up to 4 million Final Cut Pro seats at this point. So Eric Emmerich, shooting Dolby Vision HDR, that's just wild. Somebody can please explain to me exactly what Dolby Vision HDR is. I know what HDR is, but why the Dolby Vision is so important. I just don't understand. I understand it's better quality somehow, better quality pixels, whatever. I understand that, and I understand what HDR is for sure. But that's one of the reasons I want to get the iPhone 12. I will be getting an iPhone 12, absolutely. I'll wait and see. Last year, when the Mac Pro came out, first off, if you buy your iPhone 12 with an Apple card, you get 3% cash back right away. Last year, Apple had a special going into Christmas buying season. They gave 6% back on the Apple card. So when I bought my Mac Pro over here, I got 6% back on $10,500, which was $600 and some dollars, $680, I think it was. I got back because they had a 6%, if you buy it with the Apple card, a 6% special. So that's what I'm kind of waiting for again. It'll look great on his XDR Apple panel. I absolutely imagine it would be. I would like that Fcpx give support to color panels. Okay. Eric says, nah, no 10.4.11. Has to be 10.5. That's my thinking too, Eric. It doesn't make sense to keep going 10.4.11, 10.4.12. It's got to be 10.5, right? And 10.5, look, 10.5's been out for 10.4's been out for almost 3 years. Okay, look. I have a counter here. 10.4 is 34 plus months old, but it got a shot of adrenaline, 10.4.9. New update for Final Cut Pro 10 is on the way. So right now it's 34 months and 2 days, almost 36 months. That's an all-time record for a full number version of Final Cut Pro 10. Long time. 3 years is a long time. I want an updated iMac Pro, but won't buy Intel version. Then you're going to be waiting for a couple of years, most likely. You're not going to get a Silicon Mac version of the iMac Pro this year, and most likely not next year. That'll be the end. The Mac Pro and the Intel Mac will be the end of the Silicon Mac chain. So, it knows what display on which is being shown and adjusts appropriately, referring to Dolby Vision HDR above. That's good to know. Excellent. So, do you think, well, we're getting a version of Final Cut Pro. Apple's confirmed that. Do you think it's going to be 10.5? I do. I think it's going to be 10.5. They've been working on 10.5 for a long, long time. So they've been working on it so long that it seems like they're rebuilding Final Cut Pro. When we see 10.5, one of the things that I expect to see is a new way to work with audio. Rolls, of course, but a new way, whether it's a rolls-based mixer or something along those lines. That's what I'm expecting for audio. Something easier to work with now than jumping in and out of compound clips. I mean, I'm not a fan of that by any stretch of the imagination. I like compound clips in the timeline. I'd like to see the compound clips open up in the timeline that you're working in so you can keep reference to where you are in the timeline, not jumping off another screen and losing track and stuff. So I expect perhaps that'll be something else that they'll be doing. I'd like to see they've added the ability to close timelines from the timeline now. I'd like to see the ability in the browser to close other libraries. So if you have 4 or 5 libraries open, instead of closing each one individually, you click on one and the drop-down menu says close all other libraries. So you just click on the one, maybe option click on it or something, and it'll close everything else but the one you click on. I'd like to see that. 10.5 or 11 to go along with Mac OS 11. Yes, that makes perfect sense. But I think it'll still run on Catalina, but I think there'll be benefits to using Mac OS 11. Eric Emmerich says, I don't know, been expecting more robust audio for years now. Seems it's not in the cards. Eric, I'm not a betting man. I will take that bet. You can send me a Starbucks coffee card when they introduce better audio, including a mixer. 10.5, definitely. There you go. Everybody thinks 10.5. That's what I think. That's exciting, isn't it? I mean, we got 10.5. We got 10.49 in August this year. And it's 10.5. It will be very nice. It will be a very nice surprise. What happens to plugins with such a major change happens to FCPX? Is there any impact? I think there'll be compatibility. I mean, updating from 10.4.9 to 10.4.10 to 10.5, I don't expect it to break all the plugins. I mean, Motion's what people make plugins for. That's what they use to make plugins. So I don't think that's going to change. I think that's going to continue, at least for the time being. I don't expect that will change. So there may be a few plugins that have to be updated. That's okay. That's what plugin manufacturers probably have access to the new version now, so they can work on their plugins now in advance. One of the things that I don't have, my Apollo Twin X, this bad boy doesn't work on Big Sur yet. The drivers don't work. So we've been, pestering them to get the drivers so this works. I can't update my OS until this works. This is my main audio interface. I absolutely cannot get along without it. Now, what I've done is I have a dual boot system with my Mac Pro. I have an internal NVMe SSD that I have Big Sur on as a boot drive, and then I have my Mac Pro native 2 terabyte SSD that's running Catalina. So I can boot into either one. I'm running the public beta of Big Sur, but I can't stay in Big Sur. Every time I go there, there's 2 or 3 things that I need. There's just 2 or 3 things that I need that I don't have in Big Sur. So Eric says his UA audio works in Big Sur. Do the plugins work? Because I've heard that the plugins are not working, or they haven't officially endorsed updating to Big Sur because of the plugins. I use a lot of plugins, so I won't be updating till that. Do you think they'll have any surprises up their sleeves? Final Cut Pro on the iPad? No, I don't think Final Cut Pro on the iPad's coming. Not this year. They keep showing LumaFusion. Every time Apple shows iPads, they keep showing LumaFusion. I don't think they would be doing that. A Mac event is not really a time to show Final Cut Pro on an iPad. That would be an iPad event. Now, could this event in November, Apple event in November, also be an iPad event? I guess, but I think it's really going to be about Apple Silicon and maybe the new Intel Macs, whatever is going to happen with those. I don't expect Final Cut Pro on the iPad in 2020. I don't even know if we'll see it in 2021. Think about it. How are they going to run those plugins on the iPad? I have over 1,000 instances of hundreds of plugins with 1,000 different versions of different things. How is that going to run on an iPad? There's too many things in Final Cut Pro that can't run on the iPad. And right now, for $30, $29, you can get LumaFusion. It's a great NLE for the iPad. I don't see them rushing to that. But surprises, yes. Yes, 10.5 will absolutely have surprises. I haven't seen any leaks, but I'm sure audio is going to be one of them. I'm kind of surprised, pleasantly surprised. They gave us the FCPX 10.4.9 proxy workflow with 10.4.9. I was kind of expecting that maybe in 10.5. That's a big update, feature update. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yes, I think there'll be some surprises. Doesn't make sense to have it on iPad. If you had a scaled down version, yes, but I'm not going to work on Final Cut Pro on the iPad. I have LumaFusion and I have my Mac Pro, and you can export LumaFusion project as FCPXML and go into Final Cut Pro if you want to on your bigger machine. But I think it'll get there. I think it'll get there, but I don't. It's not going to happen in 2020. I'd be very, very surprised if it happened in 2020. 2021, maybe. I think it'll maybe get there eventually, but I don't think that's their top priority. We'll have to see. I mean, I think they might have a version running on it since they're working on Apple Silicon now, but there's the iOS, Mac OS, and iOS are two different things. It's not just the hardware, the iPad. First off, it's a touch interface and all these other things. So it's more complicated than that. So anyway, what do you think? 10.5? Everybody's saying 10.5. I'm saying 10.5. So that'll be great. FCPX creativesummit.com. Let's see. So this is people are asking where I saw that. This is the Apple Newsroom event when they introduced the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro Max. I'll be getting the 12 Pro Max. And way down here toward the bottom, they talk all about different things. All the AR stuff and the low light sensibilities and all that stuff. And look, they're having a MagSafe Duo charger. They brought back the MagSafe for the phones. iOS 14, of course. But that's not what I'm interested in. Now, where in the heck did that go? I just went right by it. Where is it? Where they mentioned Final Cut. There we go. Coming to Final Cut Pro later this year. Okay, there is Apple officially pre-announcing an update to Final Cut Pro is coming later this year. That's from Apple directly from Apple. It's not a rumor. So that's where we got the information. Batch syncing in FCPX, please. It's embarrassing that it isn't there. Batch syncing, okay. Ernest White says 10.5 all the way. 10.5 all the way. I think it's going to be 10.5 as well. I'd be very surprised if it's 10.4.11. They've surprised me before, though, so it's hard to tell. But I think it doesn't make sense to keep going 10.4.11, 10.4.12. That doesn't make sense. But who knows? So when this version comes out, we've already seen that there's a universal binary version of the Pro apps. We've already seen Final Cut Pro running on Apple Silicon way back in June. So we know it runs on Apple Silicon. Apple has said, Tim Cook said, he's going to be developing, Apple is going to be developing Intel versions of Mac OS for years, plural, more than one, years to come. So they're still going to be supporting Intel Macs with OSs, Final Cut Pro updates. They're still going to be supporting Intel Macs for a long time. The Apple Silicon, we'll have to see how that plays out. We don't know. On paper, it does one thing. People are saying, oh, it's going to be so much better than Intel. We'll see. I mean, the Intel just announced their new versions of their chips. It's going to have Thunderbolt 4, USB 4, a bunch of other improvements as well. So we'll have to see how that works out. As you can see in my backyard there's a lot of leaves on the ground. I already picked up leaves one time yesterday, and they're already back again. So Eric Emmerich says, I thought Tim said the transition to silicon would be complete by 2022. Well, first off, 2022 is 2 years. He did not say 2022. He said in about 2 years. We plan on having it in 2 years. Well, my take is 2 years from when the first Silicon Mac is introduced, not back in June when he talked about it. 2 years from when the first Silicon Mac is introduced, which we haven't seen yet. And it could be a little faster than that. Still 2 years. You know, in 2022, not by 2022, he said 2 years. He did not say 2022. He said 2 years. So even if it was June, that's still the middle of 2022. But I think it's more likely that when the first Silicon Mac is when that 2-year countdown timer starts. That's what I think. Let's see what we have. Final Cut Pro TV Live or Radio TV Live, either one. Viddy Do says hello from India. So don't forget Final Cut Pro Radio podcast, FCPRadio.com. I have a new version up. I have a new version out this month. Facebook.com/Richard Taylor TV is where I broadcast these things live. You can always go to FCPX.tv where I keep articles and different things. I got that domain the night that Final Cut Pro 10 was announced. And also YouTube.com/Richard Taylor TV. YouTube.com/Richard Taylor TV. That's probably the best place to subscribe. If you subscribe there, you'll be notified whenever I go live, and that's typically where I go live. Any other questions before we get out of here for the day? I don't see any more questions. Let me see if I have any other notes. Let's just check on Twitter and see what's going on Twitter. So let's just see. We might have a guest that comes on here. What about support to color grade panels on FCPX? What about support to color grade panels on Final Cut Pro 10? I'm not sure what that means, but support to color grade panels? You mean professional color grade panels? That I don't know. Of course, that's a possibility. That's certainly a possibility. Let's see if that's the case. I'm going to copy this. He says yes, that's what he's referring to. Oh, you mean the control panels. You mean the control panels. I see. I see what you mean. Yeah, that would be cool. Or Blackmagic. Eric Emmerich says the Blackmagic panels aren't compatible. That's up to Blackmagic. Okay, well, there you go for that. That makes sense to me. Let me see what's going on here. I'm going to do that. Keyboard battery very low. Well, that's not good. Keyboard battery very low. How did that happen? Why didn't it tell me that in advance? I'll have to plug in my... This one, it says his batteries are very low. I'll have to take my cable out of my top and put it in there. Have to take my cable. The good thing, I'm going to take the cable off this phone and plug it in so I don't lose power. There we go. So one of the things about the new iPhones is they're still working with lightning cables. I was a little bit surprised. What do you think? Would be great to have better masking, tracking, and keying for color in 10.5. Not expecting anything, though. Why aren't you expecting anything? I'm expecting a lot. They've been working on this for, like I said, 10.4 is almost 3 years old at this point. So here's to the Final Cut Pro team. Don't you love them? They're the guys and the gals that work on Final Cut Pro for us. They worked through the pandemic. The Logic team as well. Logic had 10.5 out in the middle of May, right? Yes, they did. So the USB-C would be better for iPhones. They have USB-C on the iPad Pro, but I don't know the advantage it would have for iPhones. I don't know what advantage that would be. No call from Apple today? No, we got the call last week, right? We got that call last week. Let me just pull this over. Let me see something here. So here we go. This was the call I got last week. We'll play that one. Apple Day, Thursday. Apple has already committed a virtual session, a presentation of some sort, and that's what I'm really interested in. I don't see the point if they just present Final Cut Pro 10.4.9 or 10.4.10. Of course, some of that's very valuable, but it would be nice if the Final Cut Pro team presents something new. Got a phone call coming in. Hello? Yes, this is Richard. We are live. Oh, don't say anything. Don't say who this is. Okay, I will not say who this is. You've got information about what Apple is going to be presenting at the Final Cut Pro Global Summit? Please do tell. Really? If that's true, that'll be very interesting. We'll be back on the air between now and the Creative Summit. So please call back. I appreciate you calling. Thank you very much. Well, that was interesting. Sorry. We're back. Yeah, we got that call from Apple. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. And we got the call the week before 10.4.9 came out talking about what's coming up. And we also got a call from Apple this week talking about, no, it wasn't from Apple. It was from an anonymous source that was talking about what the Final Cut Pro team is going to be talking about at the Creative Summit. Right? Well, I'm saying 10.5. That's what I'm saying. Well, obviously, we're going to get an update to Final Cut. I guess the debate is whether 10.5 will be ready by then. Silicon Mac's going to be ready by then. I can't tell you what they said. If I tell you what they said, they won't call back. Sometimes I can tell you after the fact what they said. Like the morning of 10.4.9, I posted that video that they were talking about. Somebody was talking about 10.4.9. The only update on the FCPX will be only the number of the version, just 10.5. Well, I'm not sure what you mean. Bribe Richard with coffee. Yes, coffee. You can bribe me with coffee for sure. Coffee. I go to great lengths to get good, fresh coffee. So I drink 2 or 3 cups a day. That's all. That's all I do, 2 or 3 cups a day. Here's to the Final Cut Pro team. Here's to the FMC putting on the Global Summit this year. If you don't have any other questions, I'm going to get out of here. So my microphone is right here, just out of view. I like keeping it out of view if I can. I don't mind if it's in view. It's about this far away from my mouth, so it's really good. It's a nice condenser, TLM 103. Great microphone. It's my favorite microphone for my vocal. Anything else? I think that's going to be it. Very good audio, he says. I've worked on it for quite a while. I think that's going to be it for today. Go to fcpxcreativesummit.com to book your pass there and use where's that code again? Discount code. 10% off, discount code FCPRadio 10. FCPRadio 10. It's not FCPX 10. I avoided putting the X in there because I think at some point they're going to drop the X, Roman numeral 10 from Final Cut Pro the same way they did with the Mac OS. That's what I think. I'm going to get out of here, get some lunch. I have some other things to do. Ernest White says, thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. I appreciate it. We'll be back again anytime. Subscribe to YouTube. Let me put that up there again. Not that you need another reminder, but youtube.com/Richard Taylor TV. This is where you want to go, right there. youtube.com/Richard Taylor TV. That's the best place. Best place to subscribe, to be notified. Got a lot of thank yous. I want to thank all of you for stopping in today, stopping in every week when you come in. This is my 3rd broadcast this week, number 3. Thank you, Yari. Thank you for stopping in. And I'm going to get out of here, everyone. Talk to you later.